Alright, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honors, and all glories unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Double honors to my apostles and elders, your millstone that doing it well. This message be unto the elect. This is Brother Dawada from Jeebus Detroit Camp, coming at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Today, I want to do it in transit, and today we're going to touch on this this topic concerning the Strait of Hormuz, all right, and Iran and DJ Trump in America. Lord's will, this video will be edifying to the elect to whom this message is for. All right. So again, this will be in transit. So we're going to play some of this clip here, and Lord's will, this is edifying. And as the Spirit gives me scriptures, then I'll pause and we'll speak on it. All right, so let's get it.
The overnight rescue through the Strait of Hormuz. US President Donald Trump has used abusive language to call on Iran to let ships through the Strait of Hormuz as he threatened to further attack Iranian energy and transport infrastructure. It follows the overnight rescue of a second crew member of a downed US fighter jet in Iran by US Special Forces.
This article, or this news posting, was from a month ago. So here it is. You still have this situation with the war in Iran, all right, and you still have the turmoil brewing up over there within the Middle East, so-called, all right, which, you know, there's a reason why there's so much tension over there on that side of the world, all right. Now, recently it came out that DJ Trump was trying to broker a deal between Iran and America, basically, you know, desiring to give them, I'm not sure if it was 25 or if it was 35 billion, you know, trying to pay them off in order to reopen up that Strait of Hormuz, you know, which is a major trade route, right, for these nations around the world. So it came out that he wanted to do business with them, you know, try to cut a deal, because the Iranians, they're just not backing down. They're just not backing down. And when the bullied person on the block, when he started hitting that weight room and he come back like, yo, can't big dog me no more, then now it's a scary situation. It's a, you know, the bullies start getting a little nervous. And that's how America is right now. They're getting nervous because they're expending so much money and resources on this war that they thought would have ended much sooner. But the Iranians are just not laying down. You know, and that's why Trump is breathing out all this. All right, look at this. He's talking about blowing. This guy's up. This is Nero. This is Nero coming back all over again. Remember, he burned down Rome and then blamed it on Jake. You know, look, you ever hear that saying, if I can't win, nobody can? That's how this devil is. He's threatening to blow Iran off the face of the earth. But isn't the reason why you're in Iran because they're so-called enriching uranium, which can be used to create weapons of mass destruction? Therefore, you have to go in there and stop them from doing this because they're so evil. There it is. You're threatening to blow Iran off the face of the earth. This is a hypocritical nation. That's Esau. He's a hypocrite. All right. And then the scriptures also say, the hypocrite reigneth not, except the vilest man be exalted. You know, roughly paraphrasing. Oh no, the hypocrite reigneth not unless the people be ensnared. You know, roughly paraphrasing. You know, he's that hypocrite. All right. He is the wicked. He is the one he's the hammer of the earth. He took it upon himself to be the police of the whole earth. And look at what he's done with the earth. Look at how he's policed it. All right, here it is. He already got exposed for bombing a little girl's school. That's this devil for you. He don't care who he harms and how he does it. All right, he takes great pleasure in bringing harm, death, and destruction. All right, he takes great pleasure in doing so. All right. Now, this YouTube channel I do like. He brings out some good information. So yeah, let's see what he has to say on this Iran situation.
A U.S. source familiar with the situation told us that they'd never seen anything like this at American bases, that these were rapid, targeted strikes using advanced technology. Iran's main targets? Multi-million-dollar aircraft, like this Boeing E-3 Sentry, which gave the U.S. a huge amount of visibility over the Gulf.
Again, those Iranians, they are not backing down. Those Iranians are not backing down. They're ready to get down. They said that they were prepared for this for over 20 years because they knew that a conflict would be coming. They knew it. So they were ready to get down. All right? They were ready to get down. They were well prepared. They had a battle plan in place. All right? So what we're seeing is the weakening of America, the weakening of Babylon the Great, the weakening of this power and sway and this fear. Remember, Revelation the 11th chapter speaks about how, and he causeth fire to come down from heaven. He did that. Fat boy and little man. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right? He dropped those atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right? I believe he even dropped napalm on Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the two most notable bombs that he dropped. You know, but he did other great crimes around that time period as well, but they're just not as well known as Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, so this devil, he has a horrible track record of hurt. Scripture says, and there was given unto him a great sword. Great sword represented a great destruction, and that's what this devil brings. Any and everywhere he goes, he brings about destruction, death, murder. All right, deceit, wickedness. That's his MO. So these Iranians, they're sick of it, and they're ready to fight back.
It's out of production, and in today's money, it's worth nearly $500 million.
Wow.
So Iran they're playing this smart. They're hitting America's pockets. Like the proverbial saying goes, there's three things you don't mess with: a man's money, a man's woman, and what was the third thing? Money, woman, and I think the last one was food or something like that. You know? But for sure, you don't mess with a man's woman, and you don't mess with a man's money. All right? So Esau, Edom, he's taking it upon himself to mess with not Esau, Edom, but Iran, they've taken it upon themselves to hit people's pockets, or to hit America's pockets. So they're bleeding lots of money from this war. All right, Trump was saying, "Oh, we're only going to be here for X amount of time." That's Iran ain't say that. They ain't sign off on that check. They said, "Look, we're here for the long haul."
So recently, CNN has come out and actually done some reporting. Unfortunately, it's about 60 days late, but as Glenn Greenwald says, here's CNN. At least 15 American military sites have been damaged in the Iranian strikes, making up the majority of U.S. positions in the Middle East. That's May 1st they came out, right? And I'm going to show you the video they put out in a second. Glenn says there's now good journalism on the major destruction imposed by Iran on most regional U.S. military bases using sophisticated and precise weapons. But again, those whose understanding of the Iran war comes from Fox and the White House and Trump influencers have no idea this is happening. So it took about 60 days for CNN to actually report this, and here's what they reported, and I want to get your reaction to this.
Camp Buehring, Kuwait. American soldiers enjoying a karaoke night at one of the biggest U.S. military hubs in the Gulf. That was then. This is now. A once bustling American microcity in the desert, nearly empty and heavily damaged after a weeks-long barrage of Iranian missiles and drones. One of many U.S. military facilities in the oil-rich Arabian Peninsula, targeted by Iran even as the U.S. and Israel pummeled the Islamic Republic's large arsenal. So what impact have Iran's strikes had on America's footprint in the Middle East? A CNN investigation found evidence of unprecedented destruction. We can reveal that strikes damaged it.
Why did it take them so long to report this? what are the true standings going on in that war? Is America really losing this bad? Why aren't they reporting on this more? Why isn't this at the forefront of your media? Because they don't want you to know how poorly they're doing within this war. They don't want you to know. All right, let's keep going.
At least 16 U.S. installations across 8 countries. According to our analysis and sourcing, that's the majority of American military positions in the region, and some of them are virtually unusable now. A U.S. source familiar with the situation told us that they'd never seen anything like this at American bases, that these were rapid, targeted strikes using advanced technology. Iran's main targets? Multi-million-dollar aircraft, like this Boeing E-3 Sentry, which gave the U.S. a huge amount of visibility over the Gulf. It's out of production, and in today's money, it's worth nearly $500 million.
Wow.
Critical communications equipment. Look at these giant golf balls. They're known as radomes, and they protect satellite dishes vital for data transmission. In this space alone,
So this, in not so many words, what is this CNN reporter saying? She's hitting America where it hurts, or they're hitting America where it hurts. They're hitting your communication, they're hitting your finances, they're hitting your technology. Okay? They're fighting smart. All right? So we're going to see how America retaliates, because now DJ Trump, like I showed you in that second clip, he's talking about blowing Iran off the face of the earth. You think Russia's going to tolerate that? He ain't. Big brother Russia ain't. He's going to be a big brother onto Iran. They're not tolerating that. Russia's going to be a guard onto Iran, pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter. All right, and every 10 years there's always a major crisis. All right, ever since the year 2000, from 2000 to 2010, the major crisis was 9/11. That affected the entire world. From 2010 to 2020, the major crisis was the C-19. That affected the entire world. All right, so from 2020 to 2030, more than likely there's going to be another crisis. Is it this war in Iran ultimately leading into World War III? Is it going to be the MOTB? Or is it going to be both? We're going to see how the Mossad has this thing play out. But we know that one thing's for sure, like Eustace Mullins says, these elites they're not super bright. They just have a formula and they just keep repeating it. Why do they keep repeating it? Because they see that it works, right? They don't bring major crisis after major crisis back to back to back. No, they give it time. All right, they give it time before they do another major crisis. In other words, they have a pattern. They have a pattern. So, we're gonna see how this thing plays out. It ain't winding down no time soon. Okay, let's keep going.
Iran destroyed all but one of the radomes less than a month into the war. And crucially, radar satellite dishes vital for data transmission. In this space alone, Iran destroyed all but one of the radomes less than a month into the war.
Iran was getting down. Okay? So this is underreported, Even the casualties that America is losing in this war, it's underreported. They're not talking about it enough. All right? The destruction, the damage, the amount of money. It took them months. All right, I did Spirit had me do a video on it, I believe last week. Yeah, it was last week, where they finally reported that this war has costed the American government over $25 billion. And that was just an estimate. $25 billion. All right? And it's only been, this is month 4, month 5 of this war? And you've lost 25 billion? You're sending up, you're shooting off missiles worth $1 million. They're knocking it down with a drone that costs 100,000. You're losing, So, yeah, let's keep going.
And crucially, radar systems. Highly sophisticated, expensive, difficult to replace, and critical to air defense. A second US source, this one a congressional aide familiar with damage assessments, described these as the most cost-effective of the targets. Our radar systems, they said, are our most expensive and our most limited resource in the region.
For US allies in the region, there's a dilemma. In some ways, Iran's show of force makes the US's presence in the region even more necessary to Gulf security. But there's a new reality here, which is that US military installations, previously seen as formidable fortresses, have turned into sitting targets. As a Saudi source told
See, it done backfired on them, all right? Because they've been setting up these different military bases within these areas, within enemy territory, all right? Which I believe they call that an occupation, when an opposing, a nation sets up shop, or sets up a military base within your sovereign area. They call that an occupation, all right? So those different fortresses, the military bases that they've set up around, that Gulf area, that's become a prime target. And best believe Iran has been plotting this for years. They're like, okay, let them F around. They're gonna find out.
The war has shown Saudi Arabia, that's the US's longest-standing Arab ally, that the alliance with the US cannot be exclusive, and it is not, in their words, impregnable.
To get a sense of just how vulnerable US facilities have become, have a look at this. It's the war room at Qatar's El Udeid Air Base, the theater command and control hub for US air power across 21 nations. Struck not just once, but twice, and according to a US source, causing significant damage. The base had been largely evacuated at this point, and no casualties were reported. Iran's visibility over its targets has never been clearer. In 2024, according to the Financial Times, Tehran secretly acquired a Chinese satellite, known as the TEE-01B.
Again, Iran said that they've been plotting this for years, right? Now, there's more to this clip. You have the channel before you. I definitely would say subscribe so you can get more information about, parts of the story that's underreported, all right, concerning the war in Iran. Now, situation in Iran, and it ain't getting no better, all right? For America, it ain't getting any better, okay? So, here it is. Here it is. Iran is basically like, look, we ain't going to keep bullying us. All right, we going to fight back. We got a backbone. And here it is. America's like, oh, shoot, look, can we cut a deal? That should show you that, this place is losing.
A massive upgrade from its own satellites. That means that Tehran went from looking at images of this quality to this. This is the first time America has fought an adversary with satellites that capture high-res imagery almost as detailed as its own. As the scale of the damage comes into focus, many will wonder whether America's presence, once a protective shield in the Middle East, has turned into its Achilles heel.
Right, because you made yourself a prime target. Because you've established these bases, and anytime you have a military base within enemy territory or around the enemy, you're going to have staff there in order to defend it. So now you got people there, you got lives there. Okay, now because you have these lives there, now because we know that you're here already, now we have a target. We have something that, okay, look, we know that this base is here. And here it is, secretly they've been getting down. They've been getting different forms of technology, all right, in order to combat America if there were ever a war to break out. All right, so yeah, let's play a little bit more, then we'll end the video there.
Ray, let me just get your reaction to this. To my reaction is that, of course, the military lied about this, and that this was they tried to cover it up, and it works because the news media in the United States is owned by the military-industrial complex and the banks, which do all the wars. But anyway, so what is your reaction to this?
That wasn't a small thing that he said. All right, these wars are all done by these bankers. Flat out. It's all about the bankers. It's all about the international bankers. All right. They're the hosts of the high ones that are on high, pursuant to Isaiah the 24th chapter. They want this war. All right. Like, what did what's her name? Guthrie Bauer say, which she is the wife of she's the wife of Meyer M. Bauer, the forefather of the Rothschild family. All right. She said, I think her name is Guthiel or is Guthiel. All right, Guthiel Rothschild. All right, formerly known as Guthiel or Guthiel Bauer, which the word Bauer means peasant. All right. She said, look, if my sons did not want war, then there would be none. All right. If my sons did not want war, there would be none. All right. So best believe that that is indeed the case. They're the ones funding this war. They're the ones behind it. They're the ones pulling the strings and coaxing or influencing America into engaging in this third world war. All right. They want war. They want bloodshed. All right. Hey, even Theo Von, he made a statement, you know, saying that, look, you know, he's tired of it. Let me show you that clip, and then that'll be it. What was it? What's that guy's name? Theo Von. Because he recently did it. He went on that talk show with, what's that guy's name? I can't think of it. Man. Theo Von. Joe Rogan? Yeah, this is it right here. I'm just gonna show you this clip, and then that'll be it.
Dude, but you're that dude. You go deep with whatever the fuck you're doing.
Oops. Here we go. Here it is here.
Theo Von's take on the current state of the world clearly seemed to hit a nerve with Joe Rogan.
Our government is not here to help the people. They've been compromised. But the crazy part is we're working to pay the taxes to keep them doing it. And that starts to make you feel sick. And I'm sick of rich people not putting their kids over in these wars and like.
You ain't had not one Rothschild to say, hey, look, I'm going to lead this war. That's because he uses the people as pawns for his agenda. All right?
That it's all just a cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. It's like all the same has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting politicians slurp on kids. It's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us. I don't know, man.
We gotta get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing it.
Why didn't Joe Rogan acknowledge what this man was saying? He was 100% on point. 100% on point. He didn't acknowledge it. Why? Ask yourself that. Why didn't Joe Rogan acknowledge what this man had said? He ain't lie. You know? So we called it out. These elites, they ain't sending their children out to war. All right? So with that, all praises, honors, and glories, ETL, about Shemiel Shah, double honor, somebody, power, and elders, peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.